Welcome to a special edition of Gotta Love Connecticut Hockey. I'm Ashley Leach, and I had the chance to sit down with Linda Cohn, sportscaster and anchor at ESPN SportsCenter. Linda played goalie in youth and college hockey, and she used her communications degree to pursue a career in sports broadcasting. Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Ashley.
All right, so let's dive right in. You're working at ESPN, and you started there in 92. What do you think has been the most entertaining part for you working there?
The most entertaining part is the people you work with. I'm with a great group now, 1 to 3 Eastern SportsCenter. David Lloyd's my co-anchor. David Rose is the producer. Robbie G, our CP. I'm just mentioning a few names only because they are fun. We laugh leading up to the show. I mean, they let me be me, which is someone who's like loud and brash. And if I don't like leading with LeBron James for the 80 millionth time, I'm going to say it and I'm going to give them another idea. I'll say you should lead with the Chicago Bears dysfunction. More people can relate to that. I know it's a hockey show. If I had my druthers, I'd lead with hockey every single show. They don't let me, so I don't have that much pull in the company. If I did, I'd be leading with the mumps epidemic in the NHL because there's no other league that has this. And to see the picture of Sidney Crosby looking like a cartoon character, it was funny. My first love is hockey. I played hockey, I was a goalie. If you play a sport, you really have an intangible that comes with it that really puts that one over the other ones.
When did you start playing hockey?
Growing up on the streets of Long Island, we played street hockey, and I was the only girl, and I played with the boys. And it was there where I realized I really liked playing goalie. So then one day, after realizing, hey, I'm pretty good at this goalie thing, I asked my mother, and then she discovered that there was a hockey league where girls were allowed to play with boys. She was a full-time nurse, and she still drove me like a 45-minute drive there and back to this rink so I could play hockey.
I know that you also played for your college, SUNY Oswego.
First time I played with girls was in a college, yeah.
What was it like going from being the only girl on the ice to playing on an ice of just girls?
It was a young team, and the girls were, most of them were beginners. We had like about 3 girls that really played well. So we kind of stayed together and helped the others mature and develop to be hockey players. Of course. But I like that leadership role.
When did you realize that being a sports broadcaster was definitely the career for you?
Well, since there was no professional women's ice hockey league, unfortunately, else I would have jumped at that in a second. I just realized, okay, what can I do that keeps that emotional connection with what I love, sports? I could do PR with a team, that would be a dream. Maybe I can do radio. I'm not a great writer, like for newspapers, so I do radio or TV. So I kind of followed that.
Now, how did you take your communications degree from college and get it to where you are now?
I just tried to make my breaks. My first break was getting a news radio job on Long Island, in Patchogue, Long Island, at WALK. I saw an opportunity because they carried the New York Islander hockey games, but they had no reporter who went out to the Islander games. Now, the funny part of it is I hated the Islanders, right? Because I grew up a Ranger fan. But I'm like, wait a minute, big picture here. So I volunteered. So even though I was doing news updates and news reporting on, nuclear power plants and, lobster fishing on the, deep sea of Long Island, I said, listen, if you can pay for my gas to go an hour to the Nassau Coliseum, I will cover the New York Islanders. I will file reports, radio reports that you can play at night and then the next morning on your newscast. The news director went for it. And it was great. I met people. And that led me to other radio jobs, like covering in New York City, like the US Open and Yankee and Met baseball, and stuff for WCBS Radio in New York. So it kept leading me to other opportunities and other people that helped me continue and build a resume. And then I'm like, it'd be cool to do TV. I met someone that was working at a college station, so they took me on, and what did I do? I did news. But it helped me because then I learned TV, and then I was getting a take. And so that's what I always tell people. Make your breaks, and also, you just never know.
For our viewers that don't really understand the process of going through an episode of SportsCenter, just one episode, take us through your day.
We're all a team. There's a graphics person, there's a researcher. We're there about 4 hours before a show. We sit down in a pod, it's called. It's a bunch of seats and computers, and we're all sitting together. We're putting the show together. The producer's job is to get our feedback and say, okay, what should we lead with? What's the order of the rundown? And things can change at the drop of a hat where that rundown is shuffled and this became bigger, or we're going to hear from this one live, so that guy moves up. We write our own stuff too, by the way, because that's how our personalities come out. Exactly. If we were reading other people's stuff, we would sound more like robots and talking heads. But since we write our own stuff and we ad lib, we add a little flavor, I try to throw in some sarcasm. I love that. I love not having a choreographed life. And so hosting SportsCenter, being part of ESPN, you don't have it. You really don't have a choreograph. So I always try to shake it up when it looks like it's predictable, like let's lead with LeBron James for the 20th time.
You have been in a handful of the This is SportsCenter commercials.
Yes.
What has been your favorite one to film? And tell me, are there any good bloopers?
I've been there so long at ESPN that I actually did commercials with Mike Richter and Henrik Lundqvist, so the two greatest goalies in New York Ranger history, next to, back in the day, Eddie Jockman. I remember the one with Henrik Lundqvist. Anyone who knows Henrik, I mean, the guy dresses amazing, but he came for the commercial and he brought like all these amazing suits with him, right? I'll never forget the look on his face when we're in the green room and the producer of the commercial says, "Oh, what are those?" And he's like, "Oh, I just bought a couple suits." And he's like, "Oh no, we want you wearing your hockey stuff, your goalie stuff." And he's like, "Oh, for both commercials?" Yeah. I thought it was a stupid job by the producer because the mainstream audience would have been so like blown away that this guy was an NHL goalie. The other thing is they did a show about the top SportsCenter commercials of all time, and remarkably, I was in the number one.
Yes.
With Robert Flores, and it was with Robinson Cano, formerly of the New York Yankees, and there was we were talking about bumps before, there was an epidemic, a fake epidemic going around SportsCenter and ESPN, and we were looking sick, so they made us up to look like really like we were going to throw up and doing the show and crazy. Anyway, people loved it, and Robinson Cano would be the guy passing the germs around throughout the entire ESPN in Bristol.
What has been the best story that you've covered in your entire career? Out of everything that you've covered, what has been the best one?
The stuff I remember most are the stories that happen when I'm actually not working them. You know, things that are important to me, you know, like watching the Rangers win the Stanley Cup in 1994 at MSG and knowing that I'm glad I'm not working this because I'd never be able to enjoy it. But I do enjoy being where it's happening. So what's cool about SportsCenter of late, they're putting us on the road a lot. So it was cool to go be in Kansas City, watching all these Royal fans get into it, you know, for the World Series and being a part of that, or being at college basketball where I could sit down and talk with John Calipari and Bill Self. This is so cool. I'm sitting here talking with arguably, you know, one of the best coaches in all sports.
What else do you have to say for people that are even just for playing hockey, anyone that's considering maybe being a goalie? What advice do you have for them?
It sounds so cliche, but make it happen. It's about persistence, you know? You can always go back to the safe route, but why not go for something that you love doing?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Linda, for sitting down with us. It really does mean the world to us, and I'm so excited for just to continue watching you on SportsCenter, obviously Monday through Fridays, 1 to 3, with David Lloyd.
David Lloyd, great show, best show on SportsCenter.
Best SportsCenter.
Best SportsCenter, totally. And yeah, that's about it. But Ashley, my pleasure. Thanks so much. Great job.